Hello, everyone. This is World University and Schools live Hangout on Air on Monday, July 9th, 2018. And today, I'd like to talk a little bit about upcoming matriculating class this autumn. World University and School is seeking 100 or more undergraduate students to matriculate for an accrediting online free to students bachelor's degree taking MIT OpenCourseWare in English. And to this end, we're seeking to reach out to all 200 countries and potentially in many time zones. So if you know of students in your country who speak some English, who might be 18, 19 years old, please let them know about this remarkable opportunity for free online accrediting degrees taking MIT OpenCourseWare and Yale OpenYale Courses. As we wait for potentially more people to join this live Hangout on Air, I'd like to mention just a few things that have occurred in the past week in these regards. Talking with friends in a Romanian language hangout on Saturday, many people in Romania and in Poland, where the two participants were from that I was speaking with, speak English already. So they're interesting populations to reach out to for these MIT OpenCourseWare-centric degrees. Eventually, World University and School would like to be in both, for example, Romanian and Polish, and in all countries' official and main languages. Here's someone, I think. Hang on, I heard a sound. Okay. Hello, Ajit. Can you join the Hangout? Let me see if I can invite you, Ajit in India. Here's the link, Ajit. Ajit Mishra in Northeast India is seeking to join the Hangout. Hangouts are amazing because they can reach out into all 200 countries. Hello, Julian.
Hello, Scott.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
How are you doing?
Well, I could give a long answer.
Are you doing all right?
Yeah, I was away for a few seconds. Yeah, I'm fine, but very busy.
I can imagine. That's great. What is new with Seoul, and um, perhaps we could also talk a little bit about the WUAS corporation and too.
Yes, of course. Start with what you want.
Uh, Great. Well, recent development with the WS Corporation emerged potentially a week ago at a Stammtisch in San Francisco
Mhm.
for GABA, German American Business Association, I think. And one of the people there was from a company that has offices in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I think they might see the potential of the combination of the WS Corporation with World University and School as two wings. So I'm curious to talk more. I'll be meeting with this Stammtisch this evening for a second time in a week or so. If so, that's an interesting possibility, and perhaps we can explore further steps from that. I don't know if anything will materialize, but
I understand.
It's being based in the United States and also having a basis in Europe is an interesting perspective for the WS Corporation. This firm, I think it's Simon and Kucher is the name of it, would offer, that Eurocentricity, which is very interesting, I guess. What are your so I think one of the ideas that we were exploring last Monday at this Stammtisch was the possibility of a single cryptocurrency with blockchain ledger, and the EU has its own euro, which is about 20 years old. I guess Romania and Transylvania do not use the euro. Is that correct?
Romania is not using it yet.
And where you live is in Romania, is that right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So one of the ideas that emerged further in this GABA email list has to do partly with a question where someone is moving back to Germany and needs tax advice on selling a house in the United States. And there are questions for both American tax law and German tax law. And one of the interesting directions that the WS Corporation could go in, and I've explored this over many, many months, is conceptually something like TurboTax, which is in American tax, which American taxpayers use and is quite sophisticated, and Canadian taxpayers use, but it's more simple. But it does exist in all 200 countries, let alone, I think TurboTax is not even in more than a few countries.
Mm-hmm.
But Intuit QuickBooks is in, also TurboTax is made by Intuit. QuickBooks is in more than 150 countries, according to their web pages. But I don't know how many languages it's in. And all of this is something that could emerge newly. So tax questions between two countries through online software around a kind of emergent cryptocurrency with blockchain ledger, where even a single cryptocurrency would be backed by 200 countries' central banks, possibly, you know, building on the euro idea. Do you know where Romania stands with access to the euro?
Access?
Or engaging the euro, or what its sort of thinking about the euro is?
I don't know much about it. We've been, I mean, we, for instance, our Department of, what do you call it, finances?
Ministry of Finance, maybe.
Finance, okay. Has been discussing this, and I'm not sure. There seems to be no exact date set for us switching to the common currency. It might be, I don't know, in a couple of years. I don't know, maybe later.
A month or two ago, I was at Stanford, and there were 3 ministers of external affairs or foreign affairs from the 3 Baltic countries, Estonia, Lithuania, and Latvia.
Yes.
And they adopted the euro relatively late. I think all 3 of the countries have adopted the euro, but it took a very long time, maybe some of them in 2003, 2004, 2005. And I see parallels a little bit with those 3 Baltic countries, and Romania, and Poland also has not adopted the euro. They have still the zloty. And I'm not sure if the Ukraine has or not.
No.
They have not? Okay. But the euro is not a cryptocurrency. So it doesn't have, in the actual paper bills, there isn't a digital technology built in. And they haven't worked out identity questions with such a digital technology in bills and chips and coins. And the blockchain ledger adds a layer of complication. But it is a remarkable business opportunity. And that the euro was sort of, you know, emerges a little bit with Belgium as its basis for the European Union for decision-making for governance questions around the euro currency is interesting. I think that there is a potential here, and but how it emerges is another set of questions.
So what need are we talking here? Whose need and what need? When you say business opportunity to provide a service, to whom and what service?
Great question. What I see as the need parallels the EU's need to, as a supranational entity, to create the euro currency some 20 years ago. So it met the EU's responded to a need of all these different countries having a single currency.
Yes.
And I think that World University and School could meet that need as well, a similar need, but for all 200 countries, and with more than a single currency, a single cryptocurrency. Does that answer your need question?
Yes, and I'm really interested in this topic. I mean, I can discuss it with you right now. I don't. So it is just a side note that I'm not sure that I can use this idea today, but I've thought about this, and I try to design a global currency that would meet this potential need, or to me it seems that it can be beneficial in given the current business context. I think that many people would like trading in one currency, irrespective of how many other currencies there are. It seems that one global currency for any usable by any person would help, would make things easier and
lower costs.
Yeah. And at the same time, I thought that it's not my idea. I thought in the same way as many other people, for instance, a bunch of financial service providers, that it should be easy to transfer amounts, because we can use software for that, and not only software, we have enough means today to transfer almost any amount from any person to any other person, irrespective of their place. I mean, it seems possible to cross that for the money, for any amount to cross any number of borders and oceans. Okay. So the second criterion would be that software should be available for people to transfer amounts easily. I mean, between or among any persons. This would cover any context. For instance, there are services that only serve individuals. I can only transfer money as an individual to another individual, and there are services that allow teams, companies to receive money from individuals, and that's not enough. So any transfer from an individual or company to another individual or company can be enabled. And I thought about another thing, that I cannot guarantee that every human being will ever or will continuously have internet access. So in order to cover that, I thought about two things. One would be that this unique currency, this should also be made available in some kind of notes, so that people can still trade even without using a computer. And so this would be this global currency would be backed up with software and service from my company, so that people can transition from whatever currencies they are using to the common global currency.
I'm glad you've given thought to this in so many ways. There are a few items here that would build on, the global credit card system, the global currency systems, which are liquid, The dollar is an international currency. The euro is an international currency. Cryptocurrency with blockchain ledger adds on to that. As you and I have talked a little bit about the Wikidata aspect of World University and School having donated itself to Wikidata, Wikipedia's sort of back-end structured knowledge database, and also that the possibility of even planning for all 7.5 billion people as a way to explore distributing a single cryptocurrency backed by central banks through Wikidata is a unique opportunity, in that the euro emerges at, right now in 25 out of 28 nation states. Wikidata's contribution could be in adding the ability for even end users who don't have internet access to receive a kind of card with a sort of a bank card, even a card you could bring into a cafe and add further cryptocurrency to. It could also, in the Wikidata database, and thinking in terms of 7.5 billion people, in that all 7.5 billion people in the world may use a form of paper or coin currency already, could be a way of structuring the possibility of making what's new about a cryptocurrency with blockchain ledger, namely that it needs to be anonymous. Blockchain ledger adds ongoing chains of exchanges that can be demarcated by hashtags, which have value. All of that, and you've mentioned your company as well as being the named CEO of the WUaS Corporation, could inform a kind of developing Wikidata to 7.5 billion people, even as a universal basic income as assistive technology. Plan for all 7.5 billion people, plan to give the poorest of them a card or even a digital technology that would enable them, a smartphone or something, that would enable them to access this universal basic income as a form of single cryptocurrency. And even refugee camps in East Africa, for example, have their own currencies, and UN and related organizations give away free cash, in a sense. If that were orchestrated between 200 countries via Wikidata, your company, the WUaS Corporation, and law students, there would be the possibility for reaching many. Could Simon and Kucher, this firm in the Bay Area, but I think it has many offices in many countries, help facilitate that in conjunction with us, you and I, and growing World University and School and the WUaS Corporation together? Good questions.
What is the name of this other company, Simon
and Kucher, Kucher. And they have about 1,000 employees, I think, worldwide, and an office in downtown San Francisco, and they focus on pricing and marketing, among other things. So being based in the Bay Area, I think they might be able to build out help build out the WUaS Corporation as a for-profit general stock company further in terms as a legal entity. And I think that would be in addition to what you could offer potentially and where the WUaS Corporation is now. Do you think?
I didn't get the entire idea. Would you repeat that for me so that I can?
World University and the WUaS Corporation would seek to build out as a legal entity, as a general stock company, as a for-profit company, and even explore this with regard to distributing this cryptocurrency with blockchain. This is something that perhaps the WUaS Corporation would explore from a kind of Bay Area, California perspective. What are the next steps for this legal entity? I'm not sure that the WUaS Corporation beyond us is able to do that, and I'm not sure that Seoul Enterprises or you as the named CEO of the WUaS Corporation could do that from Romania either. What do you think?
Well, we take it step by step and we can succeed. So let me see. So one thing that I think now is that, okay, so I was going to say again, my company. Okay, for me, it's not so much about my company. Yeah, I like my company. I offer our services, but to me, it's more about the improvements that we see possible. So first of all, for me, it's about helping people reach their goals. So when I talk to you, I want to pay attention to your goals so that you get closer to reaching them, or I don't know what better phrasing should I use. Okay, and the other thing is that these improvements that we envision at Sol do not regard regard many more people, you know, because for instance, yeah, we were mentioning internet access. So one of my teams takes requests to improve internet access, and I told you that I'm interested in this. I mean, you seem interested in that too. So we can find a way to
explore that further.
Design, beg your pardon?
Explore that further.
Yeah, to design an exchange between us so that we can help people have better internet access, you know, which of course would benefit them and would benefit all service providers, for instance, you and me. Okay, so I was saying that it's about goals and improvements, not necessarily about my company. Okay, and what was I saying before that? What was the topic?
Well, let me just
You were, yeah,
let,
you were,
let me just add here,
yeah, sure.
beyond questions of building out the legal entity of the WUaS corporation,
Yes.
kind of from a Bay Area perspective, a California perspective. Some of the other aspects of conceiving of this single cryptocurrency with blockchain ledger, and even the two people from Simon and Kucher who were at the Stammtisch last Monday, is the blockchain ledger aspect. And there's one Stanford Law Codex fellow, someone named Tony Lai, Lai, who has some Oxford degrees, and he's been a Stanford law fellow for a number of years now, who is kind of developing the blockchain ledger sort of program for Stanford Law, developing a journal for articles and going to various conferences. And blockchain ledger is still so new, but the representative from Simon and Kucher, who was there last week, of the two, is from Switzerland originally, also Asian like Tony Lai, but he's a Swiss man, Asian background. And I think that aspect of developing the blockchain ledger from a European perspective around a single cryptocurrency will involve making internet access available in all 200 countries, but it will also involve a degree of legal questions that will be worth having people like Stanford Law's Tony Lai, and if it's possible, a mid-sized firm like Simon and Kucher, based in the Bay Area, but with offices in many countries, for both the technologies, like how will blockchain ledger find its way into Romania with regard to internet access. And all of this may be facilitated with, a single cryptocurrency backed by 200 countries' central banks that needs internet access as the lead, that needs internet access in Romania, for example. So your company, you as named CEO for the WUaS Corporation, I think you being based in Romania might find even a team from Simon and Kucher, for example. And I can mention some names at some point who might be key liaisons. And I have to meet these people again this evening. But I see there's possibilities here in remarkable ways that might facilitate your interest in Romania with internet access, and also in terms of being the named CEO of the WUaS Corporation.
Okay. Yeah, I'm thinking now because I was going to share a last thought on financial services, and I wonder whether now would be a good moment or I should leave it for another time.
What is your thinking?
Yeah, because what I mean by that, I'm going to tell you what I mean by that is that I'm not ignoring what you just told me. I'm thinking about that, and I want to reply to that too, you know. So another thing, so we already have a long list of services that are usually meant for any country. I would not, given this number, I avoid increasing the number of services, but we're already building another service, and that is a global network of storerooms, of storage space for manufacturers. And now, okay, I'm thinking. I mean, I've been thinking about another service, but I have to consider whether to build it, to launch it, because it. I would have to consider what is more useful, what is wiser to create, to promote this single currency for everybody, and try to invest in that service, and in that service only, or to what is missing here? Do people need more things, and does the following service meet one of their other needs? So it seems that there is already more than one service that can do something like this. Take money in any form. I mean, by that I mean cash or electronic money. I mean, if it's in the bank, we could call it, I mean, electronic money or something like that. So in both forms, take money in either form, in either of these two forms, and deliver it to the payee in either of these forms.
To the which, sorry?
To the payee. I mean, the payer
got it.
The payer and takes it to the destination, to a payee, and delivers it in either form. I mean, it either makes it available over the internet in an electronic account. To me, it doesn't matter anymore if we call it a bank or what we call it. It's just credit noted electronically. And I find that useful. I find, I know, this is a topic in itself. I would like to discuss with you and any other person who is interested the importance and usefulness of noting due credit electronically, which also makes it easy to acknowledge it in front of any person in any country, and this would enable some enforcement. So this means that if person one owes 1,000, I don't know, currency units to person two, and that credit is noted in a data management program, any, I don't know, notary, judge, or anybody else can see that and help the person get the money which is I don't know, is not paid yet, so the half that is not really covered yet is, what if the payer the payer has cash and the payee wants cash? You know, there are solutions to this, but there isn't really one reliable global service for everybody. So my idea is, should we provide this service? Let any person transfer money, including in cash, to any person. This is challenging to do. It's really expensive to uh, uh, have people available around the world to take cash from customers, and to handle cash. It has to be discussed in much detail, see what legal provisions apply and so on. But at the moment, it seems valuable, and I have to consider it together with the other service, which is more modern, maybe more important, um, and see how these two go together, whether
Great.
I should invest in such a financial service. Anyway, we do need, we humans have been wanting for about a decade an excellent global financial service for everybody. We don't really have that. Of course, PayPal is a successful service. It's not optimal, and I know dozens of other services. They're only worse and worse and worse. For some reason. We can partner with one or a couple of these services, help them optimize that service, because at the moment there is no such service. And there would be room to compete. Actually, it's not, for me, it's not about the competition. It's about making life easier, let's say. Making it easier for people to reach their goals, because I've seen people in many difficult situations, and this would simplify such situations for me, you, and others.
Great thinking. I wonder if the dollar is the service, the cash service that might already be in existence, that would answer the cash aspect of the questions you were raising, or the euro. The dollar is an international currency. The euro is an international currency.
International, but not global.
Both are de facto. They're as close as you get to a global currency.
Well, I don't think so. And there's one major disadvantage. So one can call the US dollar, and not the other many dollars, the global currency. This is not the truth, because this gives the USA an artificial advantage for one country and disadvantages for all other countries. This is not, I think, the role of a single currency. A single currency should be unbiased. Everybody should have an equal chance to use it.
One could call the euro a proxy of the euro cash paper currency as a regional currency for 25 out of 28 countries, as a kind of proxy for a global currency, because it's got the backing out of central banks from 25 out of 28 countries.
Well, we can, yeah.
So that's so I think the basis for paper as a paper currency, as a global currency, as a global service is there. The where World University and School, as our nonprofit MIT OpenCourseWare centric planned universities with law schools in all 200 countries, official languages goes, with planning for a Wikidata end users of all 7.5 billion people, just planning wise, conceptually, hypothetically, is to facilitate all 7,000 languages, 7,097 living languages, but also to make users become learners and teachers, and to offer accreditation for matriculated registered students so they can get their degrees. And potentially within this sort of Wikidata-centric end user for 7.5 billion learners and teachers framework, some will need to buy textbooks, or maybe their countries will, if they're poorer countries. And out of this could emerge on the WUaS Corporation side as a service which has a paper currency correlate because of the euro example, as a service for the World University and School side, as a structure for all 200 countries and 7.5 billion people. So that's sort of where the WUaS Corporation side, and you as named WUaS Corporation CEO, the question of how to focus the development of such a database so that payer and payee, building out of the euro, building out of the dollar with the paper side, could emerge is interesting. I tend to go not in the PayPal direction, but rather the Google Alphabet direction, maybe Google Wallet, but backed by 200 countries' central banks. If Google could be the infrastructure for a cryptocurrency with blockchain ledger, backed by 200 central banks, and with a cash correlate or a card correlate for those who don't have smartphones, you'd have an interesting set of possibilities. What do you think of the Google direction in lieu of PayPal, in lieu of some other supranational internet service, sort of internet platform?
Well, Google has disappointed and disoriented and confused many people. So about Google Pay is not available everywhere. For instance, not in Romania. Anyway, it seems that Romania is, for many companies, a third-tier country. For instance, modern services are usually launched in the USA. I mean, there are, it's not the only country, but yeah. And of course, you launch it in Canada, you launch it in Britain. So that would be about that would be the first tier. That is, you have your own small circle, and you don't share with others. Then the second tier, it seems that you sell to West Europe, and then to Eastern Europe, and so on. It seems to spread out. For instance, if you want to spread out south, you go to Brazil, and you try Asia, and forget Africa. That's what's happening at the moment. And I'm building a world in which each country participates. Each country participates. I know it's really challenging because it's a fact that Africa is usually in the last place, and it starts from facts that cause these things. They not every African, far from that, has a reliable source of electrical energy or of energy. And internet access is poor, very poor, or absent usually in Africa. So you want to have Africa participate. It's seemingly the most expensive thing to do. I mean, if you want to communicate with Europe and North America, all right, at any moment of any time of the day and night. You want to communicate with Africans, that is very challenging. I've tried it.
Google has Africa in mind. They have the Project Loon internet access has an equatorial focus. So it takes a kind of less used areas of the world, less broadband accessed areas of the world, has become its focus. And I think Google has enough experience in Africa to possibly explore a plan. One of the challenges with a cryptocurrency with blockchain ledger, if you were planning for all 7.5 billion people and to give a universal basic income to poorest people as part of that, including in Africa, and you were to use a Google Plus social profile for 7.5 billion people as its sort of one model for end users, with Google's security and Google's TensorFlow artificial intelligence software and Google Translate, is this question of the liquidity of paper cash and its anonymity and its value without regard to the holder or to a record of payer and payee. And all of that, all of these questions will emerge. I mean, the euro had to navigate some of these questions in 25 out of 28 countries, but the euro isn't a cryptocurrency with blockchain ledger. So with questions of identity and questions of the same kind of questions of distributedness that the internet offers. Cash is physical paper cash, whether it be the euro, the RMB, the rupee, or the dollar, is distributed, but it's not distributed systematically. So all of these are interesting questions with regard to Africa especially, but I think Google there's the seeds of an Africa plan and a South American plan in Google, for example.
Well,
but it's basically free education for these countries that, which would be the reason to code for 7.5 billion people, teachers and learners in all 7,097 living languages.
So I can, I can tell you more about Google and Google Pay, but before, you can ask me to do that, but before that, I'd like to say, so I communicated with you in a Google Plus conversation. Okay, because I was trying to understand your goals and services, and while I think that World University and School would benefit from having is a clear description of its services. If we can organize such information and make it available in a nice way over the internet publicly, what do you think? Do you feel that it would benefit you so that
maybe recontextualize those 14 planned revenue streams in terms of services?
We can rewrite that and display the information differently. So, in a way that, which enables you to provide information quickly, for instance, as answers to questions to interest from potential customers.
Maybe we can email a bit about that, and I could learn your language that you think might be sensible on the for-profit side as services. The store side of things, the IKEA side of things in all 200 countries for textbooks and educational computing and educational robotics and educational hospital technologies, including pharmaceuticals, as distribution centers. You've just touched briefly on SOL and storage planning, but store planning. But that would be included maybe in our conversation. How does that sound?
Yeah. That's good.
All right. Shall we continue this conversation via email then?
Yes, yeah.
Thank you so much for joining this Hangout.
Don't mention it.
It's been recorded, I think. So if is it just for your as a heads up.
I know it's displayed. It's been displayed clearly in the upper right corner all the time, and yeah, it's good to have such data. We can get back to it when we want. I can follow your YouTube channel.
And likewise, I look forward to revisiting some of your thinking here as well. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Look forward to being in touch further.
Me too.
Talk to you later. Thank you, Julian.
Goodbye.